What is up, YouTube? Today we are back with the Guild War defense video that is long overdue. Today is December 16, 2025, as of GMT plus 8, I guess. But I think you guys will be watching it on the 17th, maybe, depending where you are in the world. I'm not sure. But nonetheless, this is going to cover a lot of different defenses. Now, I do want to preface this video by saying that Hecate will be coming out in about 2 days. So the Guild War landscape, the defenses might look a little bit different, and I'll talk about which comps might be affected by Hecate because there are quite a few. But nonetheless, I think they're still going to be very, very strong considering that not everyone will have the gear or maybe even get Hecate themselves. Now, there's going to be 10 different defenses, and this is going to be a pretty extensive video, so I'm going to be providing a lot of the timestamps that will be in the description below so that you can jump to any single defense and hear the breakdown and the different variations of each defense. Because there are a lot of different variations, right? There's a lot of defenses that a lot of units that have a lot of overlap in defense right now, since the meta is, I wouldn't call it stale, but it is quite solved at the moment. But for maybe like the lower end guilds, like mid guilds, or just like you're trying to, I don't know, just make a good defense for your guild and put in your, piece of the puzzle, then this is going to be pretty good, I think. So, nonetheless, if you guys do enjoy, if you find this useful, as always, please drop a like, comment for the algorithm, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into the Guild War defense video of today. All right, so for the first defense on the left-hand side, it will be consisting of Yolha, A. Ravi, and Bystander Huayang. Now, the concept behind this defense basically is to stop enemies from wanting to bring, Imperial Ilnav, because Imperial Ilnav obviously stops the penetration from Ravi, but it doesn't, it's not very safe with the Huayang, right? So, the Yolha is going to be on a relatively faster build at 300 speed. Secret Art Storm Sword so that you can just cut in case they have any sort of like non-attack skills that they bring, something like Sea Phantom Poultice. So you're still going to be able to bridge and push your team up forward. Now you do want to have as much stats if you can, but if you can't hit this HP threshold with the speed is going to be more important. Okay. Obviously, release imprint as you don't need the effectiveness. Then the APOC Ravi is going to be the most important unit here on Destro and Penset on Sweet Miracle. Now, you are going to want to have HP right side because you want to maximize as much HP as possible on a Ravi so that when you do get superhumanization, you're looking at about 60k plus HP depending on your build. And obviously, Sweet Miracle is going to give you that missing 10% as well while you're in game. And if I wish I can get a better EE, but it is what it is. She's going to do a ton of damage with superhumanization regardless. And her defense is not as important as her HP because she's just going to be cycling like crazy and also just doing a bunch of damage and inflicting a ton of injury. Now, the last but not least is going to be Bystander Huayang. Now, there's going to be multiple ways that you can build this unit on this defense. You can either go for an Uberius build, which is going to check a lot of the Guild War Celine builds, or you can go for something like this, which is on a counter build. Either one is fine, but I would say that if you are starting to notice people are beating you with a specific comp, you can change some things around. You can do Uberius Tooth, you can do Spirit Purification, you can do a speed build, you can do the highest HP build. I mean, there's a lot of different variations that you could do for Bystander Huayang, but from what I've seen, in terms of having the most success, is just having a nuke Huayang, because it just applies a lot of pressure on the enemy, and that S2 has really, really good value when your Divine Vessel does get procced. So this is the first defense that I will cover. There's not a lot of variation in depth to this one, I will say, but it's a very solid one nonetheless. Now, moving into the second defense of the video is going to be Operator Sigrid at 318 speed. Now, do you have to be 318? This one is going to be relatively gear gappy. So what do I mean by gear gappy? It means you need to have speed gear, otherwise you won't really be able to utilize this defense that much. Max renewal obviously is going to be needed as well so that you can get the CR push for the whole team. Now, here is the setup. So it's going to be 318 speed. You're going to have Festive Ida at 271 with a lot of effectiveness. You can see that I am over 250, about 275, so that I can land the defense break and silence with S3 and strip. And then BBK is going to be having attack buff on Summer Photogenic, on speed, and Torrent. Now, this defense does have a little bit of variation because obviously when you look at this defense, there's 3 AoE targets, and that goes for you watching this video. If you see any defense that has a lot of AoE, you can bring Young Senya. The good thing about this defense is it does deter Young Senya because Festive Ida could actually win that 1v2 or 1v3 or 3v2 or whatever the case it is, because fire versus earth, and also it's just a winning matchup in most cases, right? And if they try to tank it down, if you have enough effectiveness to tag them, then you just straight up kill them. If they try to outspeed you with Renak, obviously you have the speed leverage to try to gap them as well. So you have a lot of things covered. Now, you might be thinking, well, if there's BBK on this defense, can't you just Zeo it? You could also make this as a anti-Zeo trap, and I'll put it on screen in terms of what that looks like. You basically just want to have like all counter, like a counter BBK with really high damage on Dust Devil, and you want to make your Guiding Light off Sig and also your Festive Aegis Giga Tank, as you can see on screen. And that'll just beat your any Zeo. So if you do start getting Zeo'd, you can just run that to try to just beat the Zeos. But most of the time, if you're in like a fort or like a bigger tower, I would highly suggest running something like this that can just kind of gear gap, right? So this is very good, and it does perform very well from what I've seen. Shout out to Mino for that one because he created this defense during the tournament. But those are the first two defenses of the video. Let's break into our third and fourth ones in just a moment here. Little interruption. We have a sponsor from Huawei AppGallery, so thank you for the sponsor, Huawei. Now, they are offering a 20% cashback program when using PayPal as your method of payment, and they are offering a $2 coupon that's available under the Huawei AppGallery, as you can see here under the coupon section, that you can redeem for your payments for anything Epic 7 related. Now, for Huawei AppGallery, in the description, you can see my link, so download that and follow the instructions there. And as you can see in game, I'm going over to the Black Friday 2+1 growth packs to show you guys exactly what it looks like. You can see that it outlines 20% cashback when making purchases with PayPal, and you can see that it's $54.90 in Brazil currency. So depending on where you are, the currency probably may also be a bit cheaper. But as you can see, I get a $10.98 cash back for my next purchase. So that can go towards any, Burning Passion packs, or I can go towards the next pack as I want to pick up the Black Friday pack as well. It is now no longer $54.90. It goes down to $43.92. So a lot of savings you can get. Please check the description below for the link. And thank you to Huawei AppGallery for sponsoring today's video. All right, so for the third defense, it's going to be a defense that was mostly popularized by Korean guilds, I would say, when Ross came out and Yolha came out, obviously. Or sorry, more so Yolha than Ross. So Yolha is going to be on a top speed build on Secret Art Storm Sword. And the reason for this is because you want to deter people from going Luna so that they can't seal the Satsuka. Obviously, you can make this a little bit slower, like 250, 260. It's probably okay because Luna is going to be a bit slower on this setup. So what you could opt to do is play something that's a bit slower around like 250, I would say. Something that looks like this, just for a visual like this, would still be fine as well. So you don't have to have like necessarily top speed, but I would say top speed is very helpful versus a lot of like guilds if you're in like the top like hundreds and whatnot where they just kind of blindly Luna and they don't change gear. That's going to be the best bet, but most of the time you can just run like a 260 Yolha as well. So basically you want to have Yolha fastest and you want to have Ross on Destro and Torrent, and you want to go 3F. So the reason why you want to go Torrent is because it gives you the most amount of damage on the S3 with Genesis Ross, and HP set and other sets, they don't really offer like as much of a damage increase compared to Torrent, which is why you always want to run Torrent if you can, even if that means sacrificing a little bit of HP. And the 3F is going to be really, really strong because that 3F is able to like break through so much. It just gives it like so much extra damage, right? Like S2, S3. There's just so much damage that comes with it in the Genesis Ross, especially if you're on like a counter build. If you're on a counter build, this would make this even better. Okay. Now, I would say counter is the best in slot for Genesis Ross. If you want to, you can even go for like a non-crit Ross build that's a Giga Tank on 3F. I've seen a lot of people run that and actually does quite well. So these two are pretty flexible, I would say. Satsuka is another character in this defense that's pretty flexible too. I have her on a Riposte set on Lethal Whisper. However, you can go for Speed set as well. Speed set is actually pretty good, but it does require you to have 2 Secret Art Storm Swords. For the sake of the video, I didn't put that defense in here because I would say like majority of people don't even have 1 max copy. So to expect people to have 2 max copies is just a little bit absurd. So if you do have 2 secret arts, run double secret art. It's really, really good, especially with the speed Satsuka. But if you're someone like myself, or not myself, but if you're just someone who doesn't have 2 max at your disposal, then it's best to just run like Lethal Whisper, Speed, or Riposte is going to be good. Counter, Destro, all of them are going to be good. She's really just here for the passive, right? She's really, really good with the passive. And if you are planning on playing Satsuka to have higher HP than Ross, just make sure that you do tune it properly and you're being mindful that a Yolha S3 is always going to boost the highest HP target. So you want to make sure whether you're playing a Ross defense or a Suzuka defense, just keep that in mind, okay? Now, you'll see the next defense here, which is going to be Scales, Free Run, BBK. They need like a completely separate section for themselves. So I'm going to basically just break down every single variation of this defense and why it's so strong. But before I do that, I do want to point out again, Hecate will be coming out. So I think this defense might vanish overnight potentially. Okay. So please bear that in mind when you are thinking about putting this on your defense. Okay. You have been warned. Let's get over there. All right, so this variation, the first one is going to be the anti-Luna variation, which is going to feature a Lady of the Scales who will be at top speed on Soul Constellation at 311 speed. The second unit will be Freerun, obviously, who will be on Speed Torrent. Now, it's very important that you don't run her own artifact because it doesn't actually give her that much of an increase in damage. You just want to have Symbol or Portrait or something of the sort that's a damage increasing artifact so you can maximize your damage output on S3 and S1, obviously. And then last but not least is going to be BBK, who is going to be at 251 on a speed set on Summer Photogenic. This can be replaced by like Alexa Basket, Shepherd of the Hollow, Portrait, Symbol, whatever it is that you want to put on, you can. But the main thing is just making sure that it's tuned properly, right? So the main thing on catching Luna here is just the Soulcon, right? You need to make sure your scales is fast. If you can't make it fast scales like this, forget it, right? Because you're not going to be able to outcut a Frida that's say around 290, 300 speed. So you want to make sure that you can hit this threshold so that you're going to run this variation. If you don't have the speed, don't worry. There's another variation, and we'll go over variation number 2, which is going to be the stall comp. Okay, so the second variation is going to be a little bit less popular one, but this is going to be a special defense that was pioneered by Meowmix from my guild. And basically, Lady of the Scales is going to be on a counter build on Celestine. You definitely want to have like more bulk than you want speed. But the Celestine here is basically so that you can keep the survivability of your team and just heal, heal, heal. And if they try to target Scales, and that counter can get a Fear, it can get Celestine at the same time on the same turn. So it's really, really good value. BBK has to be placed in front, and she's going to be on counter on HP. And I personally don't own Shepherd of Chaos, which is the Hall of Trials artifact, but you would run Shepherd of Chaos so that you can just go Giga Degen tank and just like try to survive as long as possible and just heal off S1 and also let the scales heal from Celestine. And then Freerun is going to be on a degen build, triple HP set with release imprint for the Freerun to scales to land fear. And you're going to go XIV Temperance. Now, this is a free-to-play artifact, which is a 3-star. And this artifact basically grants 10% of the caster's max HP to the ally with the lowest health. So it's like an FCC passive, basically, on this barrier. And this is like a really overlooked artifact that a lot of the higher end guilds use on defense when they want to cheese and they want to just like have an FCC barrier without making it too obvious and just like stalling out fights. So that if you can't kill BBK because she dodges, if you can't kill Scales in time, then they're constantly just giving a barrier and it's going to be really, really oppressive in that sense. This specific defense is made to try to beat the F Maya variation, which was obviously used a lot in the tournament, which I believe it was like sorry, not the F Maya, the Carmen, Rowana, and Bossarunka comp. This one beats it tenfold. So because it stalls it out so that they can never kill you because you're moving so slow while the Barunka also has like 0 speed. So this setup makes it so that basically no one's taking a turn. And even if we do take a turn on this team, we can never do enough damage for Barunka to actually, or we're never taking enough turns for Barunka to actually get value out of her turn. So this is a really annoying defense to deal with if you're a small tower. If you're a big tower, forget it. This is not for you. Let's move into the next variation, which is the FTT setup. All right, so third variation. Scales is going to be on Prot set on Guardian Ice Crystals for survivability for your free run. And then Freerun is going to be on Fairy Tale for a Nightmare, which is the F10 artifact. And this is going to be on a bulk build with 0 attacks, 0 crits, 0 crit damage, so that you're just working off the FTT for the chip damage, which is 2k fixed. And this is specifically made to try to beat the Celine defense. Then the BBK is also on a counter Torrent Lethal Whisper. So if they miss with Celine, you can S1 twice immediately, right? And then that's going to allow you to get the counter and then also proc lethal, which means the Celine literally like insta dies. So this defense is really fucking annoying too if you're trying to beat Celine players. I think this is well worth it. It does require regearing every single defense, which is a little bit annoying, but there's like 50 different variations for this defense that you can try to run. And it's just like a landmine when you're setting it on your defense. But there is like one more variation that I'll cover, which is the stun bot. But just so that you guys have an idea, like like Guild War defense is all about creativity, so you can do so many things. But just because this defense like was overrunning the Guild War tournament, I would go over the stun bot in one more clip, and then the next one will be a different defense. I promise. Last but not least, going over the stun bot variation. So one of the reasons why this defense is really strong is because every single unit can be built in so many different ways. And in this specific setup, scales will be on speed, HP on Guardian Ice Crystal for survivability. And then BBK is going to be on a similar build. You're on Counter Torrent, but you will be on Lethal Whispers. Same concept. You want to just always have your BBK countering in this defense because she can get so much value off Lethal Whisper with the release of Setsuka. And then the last unit that's the most important is Freerin. So Freerin has a full strip on S3, so if you stack a bunch of effectiveness, you're going to be able to guarantee the strip every single time. And she gets 50% combat readiness, and then because she strips, Abyssal Crown is going to have insane value, because if you can stun them on that first turn, they basically just completely have all their turns skipped, which is really, really oppressive. And I would say if you're really toxic, you could definitely run this defense. It's giga annoying, but my wife's calling me, so I'll set the next defense and we'll get into that. All right, so for the next two defenses, it's going to be ML Yulha, who will be on speed HP on Master of the Nightmare, so that you can cycle to reset your cooldown sooner, so that you can S3. Then Aruka will be in the front on a triple set on double HP and immunity on Proof of Valor for Giga Tank. You want to pay attention to the HP to make sure she's not the highest HP, otherwise superhumanization from Yulha will go onto her instead of the Ilinab. And then Ilinab is going to be on a Destro HP set on Rise of a Monarch. It really doesn't matter in terms of whether you're counter or speed or whatever it is, but you just want to make sure that you're the highest HP so that you can receive the superhumanization. And obviously, the Rise of a Monarch is going to allow you to cycle the shields for Bossarunka a lot, since you can get basically 3 rotations off. Potentially with the potentially with Master of the Nightmare proccing is going to give you really good value in terms of survivability, and then the injury from Ilinab will be really oppressive. If you don't have a Rise of a Monarch, by the way, you can go for something like Elbrus or 3F. So those two options are both good. Now, for the next defense, this is going to be a very gear gap defense. So like I mentioned earlier, you need speed. If you don't have speed, forget it. So this first unit will be Renak, who's going to be on your top speed set so that you can contest anyone that tries to, just like Luna cleave you or just do anything that's like speed related. Then Shroon is going to be at 270 speed on 280 effectiveness on Proof of Friendship. This is the most important because you need to bridge your Ross. So you want to have as much effectiveness and speed as possible so that you can go Renak S2 S3 into Shroon S3. And that's going to enable the Death Break from the speed Ross. Now, my Ross is not that good just because I don't have a max Wings of Light and Shadow, but also I just can't really hit the threshold where I go for speed set with like a good HP Bruiser set. But you get the idea. You want to be as close to the 100 crit as possible. You want to be running something like Speed HP, Speed Torrent, so that you can maximize your damage on the S2, S3. And because they're going to be death broken and they have to eat 3k fixed damage from the Renak, it's going to do a ton of damage. So you're setting the death break plus 7k fix plus Pilfer plus Cascade from all targets. It's just way too much damage. So this is a really, really good setup if you have good speed gear and you're in a fort, and particularly if you're in like a lower ranked guild. It will farm like crazy. And on to the next set of defenses. Okay, so for the next defenses, it's going to be Tene, who will be at 310 speed on Magic Bubble Maker. What you could go for is Umbral Keystone, or you can go for Curse Compass if you're looking for something a little bit, I don't know, like more free to play, I guess. You just want to make sure you have some good effectiveness with top speed. Then, Belline is going to be on a high effectiveness build on 3F. This could be changed to like different artifacts, but you just want to be really high effectiveness so that you can land your provokes and the debuffs as you need. Then you'll be going with Bystander Huayang on a 0 crit build with Uberius Tooth on counter set. So the whole concept on this defense basically is most people are going to run Amid into this. And because you're having a Tene who can gap the Amid if you're fast enough to outspeed, but this is not my top speed, but just for the sake of having two defenses set on 1 and 2, you want to run the highest speed possible on Tene so that you can try to outspeed the Amid players that are going to blind Amid strays into you here. And then additionally, there are some people that are going to run like Celine Christie and whatnot, which is why you kind of want to be able to tag. But there's a reason why we have Uberius Tooth, so that if we miss crits on the Celine, we're going to be able to just like rip through the Christie mitigation. It'll be really, really good. Then Second defense is going to be SPP. So SPP is going to be running 315 top speed on Awakened Leaf. Obviously, this is the new best in slot artifact if you're not aware already. And this is going to be Saria's artifact, so we're going to have Freeman in the back getting an 18% combat readiness push. Then Freeman is going to be at 275, so if we get the 18% push, we'll be able to get the turn. We're going to be going with Mirrored Lotus Ring. Additionally, you could go for something like Symbol. I think that would be completely fine as well for maximizing out on damage. And then the front unit is going to be BBK. Again, it's going to be on a counter Torrent Lethal Whisper. Torrent can obviously be swapped out for any stat increase set or pen set, which is the second best. And the whole concept behind this is you're basically push, and you're just like cycling like crazy with the rage and the tempo and the 50 CR gain. And then BBK is going to be an annoyance because you can't really hit her, and if you do, chances are you might get countered by the BBK. So this also is really good at farming, and I think this is a really good gear gappy defense if you're in a fort as well. So those are the two defenses. We have two more to show, so let me get right into those right now. All right, so the last two defenses of the video is going to be Yulha, Ross, and Freerin. So Yulha is going to be at 292 on a speed HP set on Proof of Valor. This can obviously be changed for multiple different options. If you want to, you could do something like, Warhorn. Warhorn's going to be really good for increasing damage for your Freerin and cycling, obviously. Then the Ross is going to be on a speed build at 238 on 3F so that you can hopefully not crit with base crit, and you're basically just running all your damage from superhumanization. S2, S3, S1, 3F is going to do a ton of damage. Obviously, as I mentioned in previous defenses that include Genesis Ross, if you can feature Torrent, you definitely should. Torrent is best in slot. Then Freeman is going to be at 226 speed on Destro and Torrent on Symbol. You could opt to go for her own artifact, but chances are a lot of the time people might just run Bellion into you, which is why I do find that having Symbol or just any damage increase artifact is just usually better, just so that you can get the value of the S3 off ASAP. Then this team is really good, and it just so happens that the Freeman is also going to be carried over here. So the second defense is going to be SPP, Fida, and Freeman. So SPP is going to be top speed on Awakened Leaf. And then we're going to be having the Fida tuned to go before the Freerin at 285 with 250 effectiveness. So that we can try to land the defense break and silence. And then once their defense broken and silenced, we have rage, we have attack buff on Freerin, and we're just going to rip through the whole defense and just try to kill them. Once again, this is also a really gear gappy defense, so if you are a fort that's looking to farm shields or just help your guild out, this also is a very good option if that's what you're looking for. Now, I'm going to just quickly ramble at the very end of the video, so if you guys made it to this point, thank you. If you guys do enjoy these defenses, please drop a like and comment below. But let me just close out with some thoughts regarding defense. Now, I will say regarding defense, I think defense has changed quite a bit throughout these seasons, and even from my older videos, which kind of teaches you guys how to set up Guild War defenses overall, I think the overall landscape now is really like team reliant and guild focused. And one of those defenses that were really powerful that I highlighted in this video is the Scales Freerin BBK, right? And you know that earlier in this video, there was just like so many different variations, and that isn't even all of them. And the reason why it's so good is because you can have like landmines that we would call it on Guild War defense, where if you're in a guild that's trying to push for top 32 or top 100 or whatever it is your guys' desired goal is, the best way to improve in Guild War defense is to have open conversation and dialogue with your guild and with other people who are willing to set up defenses that might be the same, but the builds are completely different, so that it kind of psychs out the attacker from deciding on which comp to bring. Obviously, if you're in a more casual guild, you're going to want to lean towards the more gear gappy defenses that are heavily reliant on your speed gear if you have it, or if you're going to be looking for like more tank gear based, like the Yolha, Ilanap, Ronka type of setup that I highlighted as well in this video. I think there's plenty of options for all types of account builds, but for the most part, just know exactly what you're looking for from this video. And if you do find that any of the defenses were helpful, or if there's any defenses that you find you have been using that have been completely tearing through and farming shields, please let me know. I would love to feature them in the next video. But I'm sure when Hakata releases, MLDN releases, Elbrus releases, I'll be making a future video to go over the new meta at that time. But until then, thank you for watching and supporting, and thank you so much for the 14,000 subscribers on YouTube. And see you guys in the next one, maybe in another 1 month, 2 month, 3 month for another Guild War defense segment. So Well, that's gonna be it for me. Bye.